your turn to...
Oh, is it for me?
Consider yourself fired.
Why are you winking at me?
Consider yourself fired.
Hello, and welcome to the JT and Drew Show. I'm JT.
And I'm Drew.
And we're two nobodies talking about nothing.
Consider yourself fired. Well, hey, brother man. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime. You know you're welcome.
What can you say?
Except you're welcome.
Yes. Good to have.
Did you did you guys enjoy your spring break and all that stuff that happened recently?
No. So I took some time just before the kids got out, and we were all sick that week before spring break. So when spring break happened, nothing happened. So what about y'all?
That's the worst. Yeah, we definitely enjoyed it. I just continued to work, and that's about my life right now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Right there with you.
Yes, sir.
So, anything... Well, I'm not even going to say that. You can edit that out. Have you heard the news?
What news? Is it more doom and gloom?
No.
I presume?
I don't know. You have the news. I am just here.
Speaking of just being here, Mexico. Have you heard of it?
No. Is it a new kind of state?
No. This one is the old Mexico, not the new one.
Oh.
You're probably safer skiing in the newer one than you are the older one.
Gotcha. Well, I'll make sure that my vacation time is duly noted.
Yeah, don't leave the resort.
Don't drink the water, right?
If you... Oh my gosh. That's what they say. But, well, it's been a long time since I've been back there and drank the water, so I couldn't tell you anymore. But when I was a kid, it didn't seem to bother me.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah. Usually it was just, like, rappelling off my back. But anyway, so the Texas Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick.
Yeah, I was about to say, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, sir. Has recently introduced a bill. Bill 2424, to be exact.
Mm-hmm. To be exact.
And, to be exact, baby. And in this bill, what he is proposing or putting forth is that basically if you come here to the U.S., if you cross the Texas-Mexico border illegally, and you have a conviction for a felony, that you could face up to life in prison. So this would be a brand new crime that he's introducing, basically.
So if you're a convicted felon and you come across the border legally?
Illegally.
Oh, okay, illegally. You might have said that earlier. I think I might have missed it.
Yeah, no worries. Now, if you cross illegally for any reason, you could face up to a year in jail, and then the second time up to 2 years. So the trend is, hey, don't cross illegally.
Right.
So basically, this bill would make crossing into Texas illegally a new state crime. And it would authorize Texas a little bit more command and control, if you will, more authority to arrest and prosecute all the people that are crossing the border illegally into Texas.
Okay. Have they... I'm sure it's in the bill, and we'll get a copy of that here later. But I wonder if it addresses the financial burden that's going to cause on Texans. Because we pay through our tax dollars, everything that happens in the prisons.
Yep. Now, kind of devil's advocate here. I wonder which would be the lesser of the two evils, right?
Right.
putting people in prison and paying for that, or funding them through the economy, through stimulus, through welfare, through whatever other government handout programs there are that we are, or that our tax dollars are paying for as well. And I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, for the federal, that would be all 50 states paying towards that aspect. In the prisons, that would just be Texas. So would it hurt your wallet? I mean, it's going to hurt your wallet either way, possibly. But is it going to affect you more through your state, or is it going to affect you more through paying federal taxes? So that's a good question.
And on the other side of that coin is the risk worth the reward? You know, are we getting a better return on investment if we imprison these criminals, right? Because they would be deemed criminals at that point.
Right.
Would we gain more from having them locked up? Would that reduce crime being committed by illegals when they're crossing the border? You know, a lot of ranchers have come forth with information about how their ranches are being torn apart, or how they're being threatened, or their family members, or whatever the case is, you know, case by case. But would that reduce crime, catching them there and locking them up? I don't know.
I know, but I'm gonna give my opinion here. I don't think it would make too much of a dent in that aspect. Just my personal opinion, though.
Sure. Well, and you might have some of those that, hey, I don't care as long as I'm in the U.S. If I'm in jail, I've got a place over my head, a roof over my head. I've got food. I've got, you know,
clothes.
I'm being taken care of.
Yep, I got a bed.
So it could be a mindset of some folks. You know, it doesn't matter. I'm going to cross anyway.
So with this new bill, 2424 to be exact.
Yeah, to be exact.
Being implemented, would that put more power into the hands of the sheriffs and local law enforcement and take some of that burden off of the Border Patrol? Or would this kind of conflict with both?
Well, I don't know that it would. And that's a great question. I don't know if it would relieve any pressure from the Border Patrol. However, it would allow the state law enforcement to step in and intervene more.
Okay.
So you're kind of, it's a blurry area, right? Because it's a national border. So the federal government is involved. However, it's also a state border.
Yes.
And right now, the federal government is not doing as much as they could necessarily to mitigate that traffic.
Well, let's just be frank here. I don't think the federal government is doing anything to protect its citizens at the border. I mean, we can sit here and play nicety with words, but, I mean, just to be completely blunt and honest, I don't think the federal government is doing anything.
Well, and Lieutenant Governor Patrick even urged Mexico, hey, why don't you guys focus on closing your own southern border that's smaller than the Texas border, and that could help keep people from illegally coming into your country and crossing, you know, going through your country and crossing into ours.
Right.
Like it's kind of a, hey, help yourselves, help us.
Right. Exactly. Well, that would make sense if Mexico deems its southern border a problem. And
right
at that point, we have no jurisdiction there.
Right, absolutely.
So
we are worried about ours.
Yeah, but we've all seen the migration trains that come through.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and don't get me wrong, you know, not sugarcoating it. There are several families, people that are crossing, that are fleeing persecution, that are looking for a better, safer life, all that kind of stuff. And there are immigrants that come through the legal channels.
Right.
And that's the way that you're supposed to do it.
Yes.
You know, just like today on our way home, driving home from work, you know, hey, we're approaching a school zone. Well, the way I'm supposed to do it, the school zone is active. I slow down. I go the school zone speed limit. When I'm out of that zone, I can resume.
Mm-hmm.
instead of, well, I'm just trying to get home. Let me go my own speed limit.
Yeah.
Well, there's consequences, right? If you break the law, coming across illegally is breaking the law.
Right. There are consequences.
And some of those consequences, unfortunately, are human trafficking and drug trafficking. We've seen record numbers of fentanyl. You can look up, the DEA has their own website, and you can look up statistics there and see how much fentanyl over the past few years. I don't know if they break it down by quarter or monthly or what have you, but they give those statistics on what is coming from the southern border into the United States. And it's crazy, man, because that stuff gets into circulation.
Yeah.
And kills our own people.
It sure does, yeah. And it's a huge problem here. And, obviously you're not going to get all the drugs out of the country. I think everybody has already come to that conclusion with the drug wars back in the 80s. You're not going to get the drugs out.
No, criminals are going to be criminals. They're going to adapt.
Right. But we can try and minimize it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can put measures in place to help combat that and hopefully deter at least a fraction of it.
Right. And I don't see... I can see an issue with this bill coming into light in the federal governments. Mm-hmm. But as far as the people, I, again, would have to read the bill. But I don't see a problem with just the quick snippets. What is that? Cliff Notes? With the Cliff Notes, yeah. Cliff Notes of the bill. I don't see a problem. I'm sure there is an issue somewhere in there, and we're going to find it. But just...
and
small captions.
Representative Chip Roy from Texas is also introducing legislation that would designate Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations because of like we just said, the ongoing trafficking, human trafficking, deadly drugs, all the stuff that's being facilitated by those cartels. So it would cause they're calling it the Drug Cartel Terrorist Designation Act, mm-hmm. and it would require the State Department to designate these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
That's interesting. I wonder where he gets the notion to do that. Don't get me wrong, they're kidnapping our people. Just recently we had, 5 or 8 people kidnapped. 2 of them were killed. Now the cartel handed over supposedly the 5 individuals that did it. But what would dictate them as terrorists?
Well, and he says in his bill, or his proposed bill, whatever, that it would require the State Department to issue a report on those cartels and any additional cartels that meet certain criteria to be designated as a foreign terrorist organization. Okay. So we'd have to kind of peel back that onion, peel back those layers and see what are the criteria that would designate a cartel or a group of people or whatever to be considered foreign terrorist organizations.
Okay. So if they okay, well, what about homegrown gangs?
Yeah. It would have to be. Well, then it wouldn't be a foreign terrorist organization.
Right,
that would be domestic terrorism.
Right. But are we going to fight back against them? I know that's probably apples and oranges, but it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, they should. But an interesting interesting that you say that, the Mexican president was making claims that that's not our problem. That's a U.S. problem.
How is that not your problem? It's in your country.
Well, he's saying, no. Fentanyl crossing the border is a U.S. problem. Yeah, that's your guys' drug. Y'all need to get a handle on that. That's not an us problem. But the DEA said in December that fentanyl is mass-produced at secret factories in Mexico with chemicals sourced largely from China.
So So it's providing them with an economy, right? So they're getting money for it.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem there. I mean, they get money from it.
Well, and you've got to figure, for as long as I can remember, and I've got some family in Mexico, and friends that have family in Mexico and friends that frequent there, but their government, their police, their all these like agencies are corrupt.
Yeah, the cartel have them in their back pocket.
Mm-hmm. You, like you said, it stimulates their economy. You cut it off, and we'll cut off an arm and mail it to your sister, or I mean, they're not not politically correct. I don't know what the term is, but I mean, they're very blatant about it.
Yeah,
and they're very savage with it.
Yes.
I mean, they'll cut you up into pieces and leave basically maybe a torso and mail off pieces to family members.
Yeah.
That's
pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And why hasn't the Mexican government gotten... I mean, obviously we just said they're all in their back pocket, or majority of them are. But
yeah.
What about... Because you can't think everyone in Mexico is that way, right? There's good people in Mexico.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's not like you think everyone in Texas owns a gun and just carries a gun around and all this. No, not everyone in Texas has a gun or owns a gun or likes guns. So
no.
So not.
And like I said, I've got friends down there that their families have property, have ranches, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they do have hired guns, people that are there to protect that property.
Yeah.
From cartels, from criminals, from whatever comes their way.
Right. But why don't the good people, and I'm sure they're outnumbered, but why don't they do something about it?
Yeah. That's a good question. I know that the U.S., like you had mentioned a little while ago, we had a couple Americans that were killed and kidnapped by drug cartels in Mexico. And with these proposed bills, some of the U.S. representatives were talking about, hey, we should be sending the U.S. military down there to intervene, whether that's the National Guard or active duty or what have you. And the Mexican president was making claims that, that's irresponsible. Again, that's not our problem. It's the U.S.'s problem.
We're trying to take care of our people.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see it both ways, right? So if the Texas sends the Guard down there to intervene, if a mistake has happened in a unit or platoon enters in Mexico territory, Mexico can then take that and say, oh, it's an act of war.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the U.S. is saying, no, we're trying to get our people back, and they were just helping them to get back across the border. So I tell you what, and I'm going to take this, and we don't have to run with it, but as of right now, it seems that everywhere you turn, whether it's the media, the government, and I'm saying local, state, and federal, it seems that there is a bunch of lies being told. I'm not saying that everything is a lie, but it's seeing that either the truth is being stretched or you're just getting blatantly lied to your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's really frustrating myself, and I know tons of other Americans, and maybe not just Americans, people worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So we are getting frustrated with this stuff. So
the Mexican president said that...
okay, well, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you didn't say anything. The Mexican president said that they don't produce fentanyl, and they don't consume it. So why doesn't the U.S. take care of their problem of social decay? But then you have the DEA coming out and saying Actually, most of the fentanyl trafficked by the Sinaloa cartel and other cartels is being mass produced at secret factories in Mexico into the United States. And just in 2021, the DEA recorded over 106,000 drug overdose deaths, which they attribute about 2/3 to fentanyl. And they say fentanyl is about 50 times stronger than heroin.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, so I don't imagine it takes much.
No. Well, it doesn't, because there was that cop who and I need to get her name before I even start talk about this. Oh, hang on. What was her name? What was her name? What was her name? Oh, come on. What was her name? You know, you click on a news thing and then the freaking ads come up. There was a cop. I guess we'll have to edit all that out. There was a cop. I want to say she was in Florida, who they were pulling over somebody, and they had a bag of fentanyl, and I guess the bag got ripped open or somehow got opened, and it was just a powder, just a little puff of fentanyl got onto her, like in her nose and on her face and everything. And within minutes, she's on the ground. And I think they tried to get her to the hospital and she died.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that
I think that was back in December.
Yeah. But like the report says, fentanyl is 50 times stronger than heroin. We can see that physically as somebody who has probably never done drugs or little drugs, maybe smoked weed or whatever, prior to being a cop, who never hit the heavy stuff, and they got exposed to it and then boom, died. And you're telling me that you don't have a problem in your country when our sources are saying it's being developed in your country.
Yeah. Well, and you've got... So that particular case, to kind of go back with the mixed information that we were talking about a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
CNN had a medical analyst come out and say, well, it's extremely unlikely that law enforcement officials or other first responders will experience an overdose after brief unintentional exposure while caring for individuals who use opioids. Okay, extremely unlikely doesn't mean it's not possible.
You could have...
And they're saying, well, it's not well absorbed into the skin when it's, like that powder that the officer inhaled, or what have you. What they're trying to say, and what they do say actually in the article, further up in the article, is that it's these right-wing media outlets that are trying to fearmonger and tell people that this is more dangerous than it is.
You can have a heroin addict, right, who is just fried and high and start to be non-compliant with cops, right? Say they have a dirty needle in their hand. There is nothing stopping that addict from jabbing that needle into a cop or even paramedic.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There's nothing stopping them. And how can you say that? It's less likely No, these guys are front line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it, man.
Well, and to make things even more interesting, the Mexican president, there was an article that says that he threatens to meddle in U.S. elections with information campaign against Republicans.
Here we go.
So he's suggested that he'll issue a call for Mexicans and Hispanics in the U.S. not to vote for Republicans, quote, because they are inhuman and interventionists, end quote.
You know what's really good about the Mexican population, at least here in the U.S., is that they're free thinkers.
Yep.
They're very proud of it.
It's probably the nicest thing you said about me ever.
Don't get used to it.
I'm going to try not to.
But they're very, whether they swing left or swing right, or if they're kind of in the middle, they're very vocal about it.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
Well, and I think that as with any race, people group, congregation, whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
the people want to feel like they're being taken care of. People want to feel like their voices are being heard.
Mm-hmm.
People want to feel like, hey, when I say something or when I voice a concern, that it's being addressed. I'm being listened to. Things are being taken care of. We're not robots.
No.
And we really saw a lot of this with the COVID stuff going down in the very beginning. With, we'll just shut up, listen to the government because we know what's best for you. I can think for myself.
Yeah.
I can WebMD. I can talk to my doctor. I can see what's best for me as a person.
Yeah.
You don't know me. How do you know what's best for me? I think that's very much the wrong approach to take. So when they're calling, whenever you get these political figureheads calling, oh, hey, this person upset me or they don't agree with me on this, so you should just totally boycott them for my reasons. Obviously, you have a lot to gain for it, but what do I gain from this?
Yeah.
How does this help me? How does this help my family? How does this put food on my table or keep us alive or whatever?
And that's what 90% of Americans are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I put food on my table? How can I take care of me and my family?
Just this year alone,
mm-hmm.
and we're not, maybe a quarter into it, a little more?
Yeah.
The DEA has already seized over 8 million fentanyl pills, over 1,600 pounds of fentanyl powder, and all of this is equivalent to about 48 million deadly doses.
Jeez.
And according to the DEA in 2022, more than 57 million fentanyl-laced fake pills and more than 13,000 pounds of fentanyl powder were seized for 2022. So we're already almost at those numbers, and we're just creeping past the first quarter of 2023.
Yeah. That's not right.
No, holy moly.
Yeah, hold the phone there, Jack.
Yeah. I want to take somebody out, behind the bleachers and have a push-up contest. Get your facts straight, Jack.
Oh, yeah, it's getting out of control.
And I think... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say not so much doom and gloom. This is a problem that's been going on for a while.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to see a elected official coming in and saying, hey, as of right now, this is the best thing we can do. Let's at least try it.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't work, we'll come up with something else. But we've got to protect our citizens. I can't fault them for that. Is there going to be faults in this bill? 100%. There's going to be a fault somewhere. But we're at least taking a step in the right direction.
Well, and is it politically motivated or politically driven, or is it caring for their constituents?
For this right
Which,
here,
I mean, is both, but...
Yeah, but for this right here, it seems like it's more of a caring than a political act.
Yeah.
Maybe...
I agree.
Maybe it is a political act in caring for your people because the current administration isn't doing anything.
Yeah.
So we've sat on our thumbs for 3 years. You haven't done anything. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and step in.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, it could be both. But it is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Now,
well,
let's try it. Let's find the faults, and then let's go ahead and fix that.
Well, I think we have to do something. We can't just sit there and talk about, well, yeah, there's this problem and not do anything.
Right.
You know, when there's interviews, plenty of interviews with local law enforcement down at the border, with Border Patrol, with some of the, civilians down at the border, you know, that can tell you, hey, yeah, in this particular area, it's like a war zone. Or in this particular area, you know, people are causing all this damage, or there's this much crime that's happening, or we're being overrun, or I lost a family member or a house, or like this one sheriff they were interviewing was talking about how he patrols a certain area down there, and yeah, any time of the day, I mean, you'll hear gunshots popping off, and you'll physically see the cartel dropping people off and getting their money, you know, to bring them up to a certain point. And they get shot at, the local law enforcement and all this stuff. But again, without the government support, what do you do?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Your hands are tied.
Mm-hmm. And then when some of those folks do cross the border, come into the United States, and then commit crimes here, what now? Stuff that could have been prevented.
Yep.
You know, oh, so-and-so murdered somebody. Okay, well, they were here illegally in the first place. This should have never happened. Murders shouldn't have happened anyway, but
no,
this person shouldn't have been here and able to commit that crime.
Correct. Yep. Now, they're wanting to put a stop to it. Great. Go for it. That's your job as an elected official. Protect us.
Yeah.
So, that's great, man. Well, it's been a heck of a ride.
It has been a heck of a ride, and all this Mexico talk makes me want tacos.
Oh, see, I was going to say burritos.
Tacos!
As always, we'd like to say thank you for stopping by and listening to the podcast.
Yeah, we realized that you could have been doing anything way more productive, but you chose to waste your time with us.
We look forward to talking about absolutely nothing with you next time.
If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please email us at
jtandrewshow@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/JTDrewShow.